Okay. Take a deep breath and come with me as we open up the door to divine and spiritual intelligence. Okay. So today, this is part 4 of how to find your true life's purpose. And a couple days ago, things got to a critical mass. If the universe keeps telling you something and keeps presenting you with something, guess what? You can guess that the universe wants you to know this. When I was in my 20s, I didn't know what a guru was. This is the truth. I didn't know what a guru was. I didn't know what a Buddha was. I didn't never heard the term old soul. You got to go back to like 1984 when I got sober, and one of my college buddies introduced me to a woman on the phone in California through a mutual phone call and said, "You got to meet this woman." She ended up becoming my first spiritual teacher. And all of my life before that was kind of like being in this vague, if you've seen The Matrix, kind of like wondering something's out there. I don't have the right question. This vague feeling of, I need to know something and I don't know what I need to know. My question when I was younger was never like I need to do something. Uh, when I got out of college, and I got sober right after college. So the culmination of me getting sober and meeting this woman, Marta, my first teacher, she, it all happened at the same time. I got sober. I met my first spiritual teacher right after that. And I got my first set of tarot cards right after that. And I started studying the tarot as an esoteric system. And in the intervening oh your top line self, your top line power is something you step into every day. Okay, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, and it goes up, and it's contingent upon your daily spiritual basis, daily spiritual maintenance. So, you stay in your top line life and your top line energy. I've got this graph that I'm creating, and I have several versions of it. I'll show it to you in the next video, where you have your 50% mark. And what you're trying to do is stay in the top line energy 51% of the time. So when I have a life coach client, I say, how can we get you into your top line day? And so my top line day is not, and my top line requirements, the bottom line for me is you have top line, unacceptable, acceptable, which is over that 50% mark, and then you get into top line energy, top line thoughts, top line activities, and then you go to the next highest level, which would be master, spiritual master, master of the universe. I'm going to find it. I don't want to step off camera. So let's go back to the story. I've been studying the tarot as an esoteric occult system to help me in my spiritual life and spirituality for over 25 years. And now I'm a tarot professional, and I professionally study and read the cards with other people. So what happened? Marta, my first spiritual teacher, I said... she asked me, do you have any questions for me? And I said, yeah. It was like this question had been in the back of my throat my entire life. And I didn't know it, and I had been drunk at 24. I'd been drunk and high, and I mean high. You can watch my other videos. What's it like to be a sober medium? My name's Kirk. I'm an addict. I did that on my 30th year anniversary of staying clean and sober. But, I got sober, I met this woman, I got the tarot cards, and I started, this whole entire other spiritual universe opened up. Most of my buddies from college, I was in a fraternity, and my college colleagues, they were all like, we're gonna make money. We value money. When I got sober, I moved to New York. I came out of the closet, and all of a sudden my questions were all different. My bottom line was different. The bottom line at that time was I don't pick up alcohol and I don't get high anymore. So, however that can, like, my universe needs to rearrange, because in my brain, my answer was always the alcohol. What's your answer? Uh, you know, what's your answer for everything? You have to ask, what do I naturally go to? And the world naturally goes to drugs and alcohol. If you go to a city, I live in Midtown Manhattan, and you just walk down the block, you're going to see what this culture and this city values. What does it value? What's on every block? A bar. So the culture's answer to things is when somebody's born, when somebody dies, when there's a happy event, we serve alcohol. Okay, let's go to the bar. We serve alcohol. So for half my life, the alcohol was, this painkiller, and that was my answer. Well, the answer is, I don't know, let's go to the bar. I don't know, it seems like being in that universe, and even for me to even consider what I was at 24 versus what I became and what I am right now, it's hard for me to even fathom me at 22 sitting at a bar and the person that's here. Like, I can't even, like, it's a billion, 100 million, billion times away from, I've had so many transformations. I look at that boy. He was a boy, that got sober, and now I'm in my 50s. So, it's bizarre and wild to even ponder that. In any event, so you have to look back through your life. But, I believe in reincarnation, and I believe and know, because I've been studying metaphysical literature, and I have been listening to people for over 25 years. In sobriety, I learned to listen. I listened to learn and learned to listen. So, what's the point? Reading all these metaphysical books, what I learned is life is not like a linear line. It's like this, like you go all over the place, and, your energy goes up and your energy goes down, but you reincarnate all the time. You morph, you create a new body, you want to experiment and create a new persona. People reinvent themselves. In a metaphysical sense, and one of my filters is being sober, being a gay man that grew up in the 70s, which is a filter that, for good or for bad, and being a sober person in a recovery community, and then not just being sober, but also recovering from several traumas, clearing out the traumas metaphysically. So those are my filters, and that's how I look at things. So when I listen to somebody, I'm listening from an energetic standpoint. What's going on with your energy? What's going on with your aura? And in the intervening years of being like, I don't know what a Buddha is. I've never heard of a guru. I don't even know what that is. I was never exposed to that, at all. The universe kept presenting information to me saying, Kirk, you're an old soul. Random people, in the recovery community would come and just start channeling shit for me. And I was like, and they're like, Kirk, you're an old soul. You're like an old priest. And it wasn't just one person. My first spiritual teacher, to get back to Marta, when I first got sober and got introduced to my first major, well, she was my second major spiritual teacher, but as an adult, she was my first. And, I was calling her on the phone saying, like, I have a spiritual teacher, which I couldn't even believe how, like, lucky I was. So that's what I valued. I was 24, 25, and I was like, growing up, I thought, I just want to be wealthy. I want to live in Beverly Hills. I want to have a car. I want to have this. I want to have the swimming pool. And it was all like this outside material based. Then when I got sober, my questions all changed, and what I value all changed as well. So I got the spiritual teacher, and I was like, okay, you know, what do you want to do with your life? You're not, life tossed you into a new set of circumstances. So getting sober, coming out of the closet was no easy task in 1985. Trust me on that. It seems kind of matter of fact now. You turn on the internet, you can watch gay movies and gay TV shows and read gay magazines and see gay blogs. And trust me, your energy was pushed down, held in, and you didn't even say the word and you didn't even tell anybody, and you had to come out of the. So all your energy as a gay person was just like blocked and frozen in this whole other universe that like you couldn't access, and that there was trauma and pain around your romantic life, your sexual life, and what you felt in your heart. So all of that was like, it's like taking an extra class. You have to take an extra major, a second major in just clearing out that trauma. And I'm not even going to say like, oh, poor me, I had to grow up gay. I don't give a shit about that. What happened to your energy and your aura, and how do you get it out? How do you clear out that grief and that pain and that trauma, because so it won't impede you today? Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like anything, gay or straight, maybe your issue's a gender issue or a race issue or the color of your skin issue or your religion issue. And there's traumas around these early things. And, to completely ignore them is to ignore that there is a subconscious point of a component active and what's going on. And if you don't deal with it and it's undealt with, that you're going to be controlled by that thing. So I consciously, subconsciously, in my conscious, front of my mind knew you're going to have to clear all this shit out. And it's a lot of work. And this grief and this pain and this shame all around your sexuality didn't even belong to me. It didn't belong to me. And I still had to clean it all out. Like, this doesn't belong to me. I've got to do all this fucking work and get rid of this trauma and like accept that, I'm different, and on top of it, now I've got this little baby shaman guru thing going on and this energy that people don't seem to understand. What's the point, Kirk? What's the point? The point is, the time you think the timeline of your life is you're born into this body. I'm born in the 70s, and then I walk through my entire life, and I just carry one body, and that's the body I have the whole time. And then, this happens, and then I get old, and I'm all, oh, I'm carrying all this pain, and now I'm old, and then you die. So the fact of the matter is, you have a new body every day. New thoughts, new feelings, new actions creates a new aura. It actually creates an entire new aura. And so I'm looking at everything not as a financial person. Like, my master of the universe is not going to be financial. When I came out, I got sober and I moved to New York as well. So 1, 2, 3, thanks. Just like, and my learning curve, straight up. So, you want to become a person of value. So instead of acquiring things, my entire consciousness got switched over. My question changed. And, my question was, become a person of value, become a clear person, get the trauma out, deal with the trauma, release it, trace it, face it, erase it. So it's not an active component. Because when you don't deal with the trauma, you're going to carry the trauma around. And guess what? A person full of shame can only do what? Give out shame. And we all know that person. It could be your parents, or it could have been a teacher, or it could have been somebody you grew up around. A person full of anger and rage. If it's undealt with, guess what? Every response is going to have attached to it anger and rage. So, if you're around a person like that and you're not self-aware, you don't have a spiritual practice, and you don't have the ability to detach energetically, probably more than 50% of the people that watch my videos are energetic, empathic empaths. They're spiritual, magical people, and they you know, are empaths and absorb people's energy and give out, and they are completely alive energetically and spiritually. And so when you're around an angry person and you don't know it, you don't know you're an empath, you absorb that energy, and then your vibration goes down and you feel toxic and you might even get sick. If you're around a person full of shame and the dynamic is, oh, look, hey, I got this thing, that person's going to shame you. Why? Their reference point is shame. It's undealt with shame. So don't personalize it and don't absorb it. You got to get away from that person. So your spiritual imperative, like I said, when I was growing up, I had an imperative. I'm going to be rich. So I'm going to learn everything I can about finances and having a big house and just making business. And then when I got sober, came out of the closet and moved to New York, my questions all got different. So, what I valued and what I knew, all of a sudden, I was in an entirely different universe. So the spiritual imperative to me was, I want to know things. I want to know things. So instead of collecting and accumulating things, I decided, it's time for you to become a person of value instead. So I'm happy to report that I feel successful in that endeavor. But, at 24, frankly, you don't know really a lot. It's a wonder kind person. I talked about this in other vids, that is like, this kid that crawled to his first piano. I mean, some people incarnate with an exact idea. I had a friend in college who was an architect, and he told me that when he was a kid, he would, draw pictures of houses and buildings, and then he would hand it to, his friends. Look, I made a building for you. And he ended up becoming a wonderkind at USC, where I went to college, of their architect program. And the architect program at that time only accepted like less than 100 people. Like, you had to be, like, it was one of the best architecture programs in the entire country. And so he came in with a very clear idea. So I'm not, despairing living in the material world and living for material things. It's just that my question all of a sudden got different. So when I had this phone conversation with this woman, I was like, she was like, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, yeah, what am I doing here? Like, I finally was like, I met a real person. I met somebody that, like, I don't have to explain all this stuff. She's like, this question had been in the back of my mind. What am I doing here? Why did I incarnate? And that was the first time I really touched my core true self. It didn't even have anything to do with being gay. It didn't even really have anything to do with being sober. The question had been in the back of my mind. I'd been around people that were basically spiritually unconscious and emotionally unconscious. And the world was emotionally, this country was emotionally, had no, like, emotional IQ wouldn't be on the radar for another 25 years. Like, hey, what's an emotional IQ? Well, if you want to have successful relationships, guess what? Even a romantic, a sexual one, a business one, your greater community, you have to have this thing, emotional intelligence. And, your quote unquote success in life is going to depend on your relationships. And, going back to the subconscious imperative, if you have undealt with shame and trauma and disorder, you're always going to attach that to every single relationship. I know it seems like a long way around all this stuff, but, there is a point. The undealt with shit you're going to attach it. So if it's undealt with rage, you'll attach rage to every relationship, and to every response will be like anger. If, you've gotten this victim mentality, maybe you were a victim. A lot of people were victims. There was no internet. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I was a victim. I was stuck. I was just stuck there, like, no gay people, no sober people, no spiritual people, and I was like the alien. And I was alienated from myself. They threw me away, and then I threw myself away. So yeah, when I cleared out the booze and the drugs, man, it was like, and everybody was gone. You better deal with this shit. And so I found that people that don't deal with this shit, they're like zombies. They are on autopilot until something comes up in their point of reference, and then they, boom, attach their rage to that person. And then they get into it with that person. So, same relationship, 30 different people. Okay, so I was looking, before I thought money is going to fix this. Money is going to make everything easier. The answer is money. The answer is, material freedom, financial freedom. Then when I got sober, I realized, oh man, there's just like, you are going to have to deal with all this trauma. And so for the first 20 years of being sober, I had to deal with the trauma. Now, the segue to how do you find your life purpose? Well, you got to get in touch with all that trauma and pain, and we talk about blocks. I have a block. If you don't deal with the shame, the new age speak is if you don't deal with the shame and the rage and the pain, you're like I said, you're going to attach. If you're full of pain, psychic, spiritual pain, you are abused, you are a victim, and all of us were at some point, you got to snap out of it. First of all, you were a victim, but you left. So only a victim stays. You're only still a victim if you stay. The victim stays. And, in my life coaching, I deal with people that are like, well, I feel like I don't even have the self-esteem to try to improve my life. That's like the ultimate victim. You just like, I don't even feel like I deserve the self-esteem. So, as a life coach, how do we get you up to be like, I have the power, I have the permission? So once again, you got to get clear. You got to get internally clear on what you want, what what your bottom line is and what you value. So how do you find your true life's purpose? Well, it involves clearing out all of this other shit that you're not. And then once you're clear, it's like you can have anything that you want. The reason that you can't usually have what you want is because of all these other things. You're choked up and stuck. And I specialize in people that are stuck. And the first thing I ask them in the first initial meeting is, all right, you came to me because I specialize in people that are stuck. And I just say to them, are you stuck in the pain? Are you stuck in the fear? Are you stuck in the shame? Are you stuck in the rage? Stuck in the past? Stuck in an old relationship, that like you haven't made peace with, that's already over. And they just look at me like, I mean, even that is worth $200 an hour just to finally, because the therapists, they don't know this stuff. They don't even know they're supposed to say that. Like, let's get you unstuck. I pull people out of the trench. I pull them into their present time, their present life, and their top line energy. So the shrink is not, I never had a shrink that said, I was running to shrinks. I had my spiritual teacher. I had my recovery support thing going on. Staying sober a day at a time, and clearing out the grief, the pain, the shame, and the rage about being gay, and all of a sudden the newfound light and the universe, a new communion and connection with the universe, and the universe constantly saying, "You're an old soul, Kirk. You're a magic person. You're a witch. You're an old priest from Egypt," and so. It kind of like the worlds collided. I rose up to the challenge. I got to tell you, my learning curve just went, it was like completely like a rocket ship, 100%, like 90-degree all the way up. Sometimes you have a slow learning curve and you kind of go up a little. It was like, I was like overwhelmed, exhausted, humiliated, in shame. I was clearing. I was getting sober. I mean, your whole body changes, your whole mind changes, and the questions you ask change. So, when people come to me, like, I couldn't find that therapist to say, like, let's get you unstuck, get you out of the trench, get you some emotional intelligence, some spiritual connection, And, what do you want to do in the material world? So when I met my first teacher, and I met a person that was awake. I met a consciously awake person, and she gave me permission to be awake. So now I'm awake. Enlightenment is a slow waking up. To enlighten is to make lighter. So this is going to be a long video. She gave me permission to be awake. And then I met these people that were clean and sober. And, their most important thing was not cash and prizes. Their most important bottom line thing was, we stay clean and sober a day at a time. And I was like, okay, I got to be around these people because they can teach me that, every single answer I had ended up like this. Let's get the booze, let's get the booze, let's get the drugs. And then the calamities went on from there, the people, places, and things. I had the alcohol addiction, the drug addiction, and then my second love of life ever was just getting into it with people, and I had the shame and the rage and the pain. And, every relationship I had, all that got attached because that was in me, and all that disorder was attached. Ultimately, it's an inside job. So if you have disorder, and you don't have the inside matches the outside, and you're clear inside, and you don't do that work, you're going to just attach the disorder everywhere. You're going to project it everywhere. So, you're going to project that shadow of all those things onto everything that you do. And eventually it catches up to you. So I thought, this is a first things first issue. Clean it sober, clear out the pain. I didn't know that was going to be a 20-year. I had no idea that was going to be a 20-year process. I ended up becoming a life coach. I ended up becoming an initiated shaman, which I had no idea, was not even in my consciousness. I mean, it wasn't even on the board. Like, oh, you can be a shaman. Like, Kirk, you're a shaman. And a shaman has to be initiated. That's a whole other video. But, when I was a kid, it was like, what's your question? What do you want to be when you grow up? What's your life purpose? Oh, I'm going to be the president. Like, you're a boy, so it was gendered identified. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be a sports something. Or I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to be a businessman, or I'm going to be a senator. Trust me, life coach, shaman, and all these things wasn't even in my universe at that point to be like, oh, I'm going to be a shaman, Okay, moving forward. So, when my first spiritual teacher, she said, what are your questions? I said, why am I here? What am I doing? She was like, Kirk, you're an old soul. You're like one of the oldest souls. I didn't even know what that meant. I don't know if I buy into all that old soul, new soul, but she was like, you are ancient. So I was like, that took 20 years to process that information, actually. So I said, well, then what am I doing here? Like, it was like I talked out of my true voice for the first time in my life. I had just been waiting to find this person to be like my real self and say, yeah, I am an old soul. What am I doing here? I lost the thread. I don't know what I'm doing here. And she said, you came back to teach. And I was like, oh, yes, of course. So when you hear the truth and you hear your core truth, then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, exactly. But it took me 25 years to get in front of that person to be able to go like, she's awake. Oh, I have permission to be awake. She's a spiritual person, Buddha, something. I have permission to become that. So in line with what's your true higher calling, you got to know yourself and you got to look back at your history and, let it be an asset. But the universe is going to tell you. So, hey, Kirk, how do I know this? Well, we discussed in the other videos. First of all, you put the question out to the universe. You write it down and you put it on a flashcard and you put it through your house. And then, I suggest you write it down on a flashcard and put it in your pocket. You're going to explore this thing for 30 to 40 days. I mean, I would recommend, you're in your 40s or 50s or 30s and you still haven't like hit your core energy and core values, and you still don't know what your bottom line is, and you still don't know what you have to have, and you haven't made that kind of self-discovery, self-awareness, and self-connection, then, you can take 40 days, so you don't take the next 20 years and go like, well, I never really focused. You know what I mean? I never really focused. I never really got clear on, I never had somebody tell me you know, clarify it, simplify it, streamline it for me. And, I just got busy. So, what's more important than, hitting your mark, finding your highest vibration, and, fulfilling your destiny and rising to your destiny? So, that's like a heavy duty preface to, this one, video number 4, because now we're going to get to some other awesome, great stuff. And so, I said, what am I doing here? Like, it was like I just dropped everything and I was talking to a friend for the first time in my life. It was like I talked out of my true, authentic voice, which is the most powerful you can do. And I just was like talking to an old friend, even though I was 25, never met this woman. I was like, oh, okay, what am I doing here? And she was like, you came back to teach. You came back to teach. And I asked something else, but it'll come to me. Oh, so, she taught me about myself energetically. She said, you're a master of energy, Kirk. You have been given all spiritual gifts. And you're basically like, okay, hey, you know what? I got to step into it. She was like, you're like an incarnated deity. You're like an incarnated deity. I'm an incarnated deity. I can't do anything right. Well, I couldn't do anything right because I was surrounded by people that had absolutely no spiritual connection to themselves at all. So I was trying to live in this other financial Republican model of, we're going to be rich and it's about financial freedom. It's about acquiring things. You got to understand Southern California, which, if you can understand what the OC is about in Orange County, it's about a big house with a view of the ocean, a couple of boats, motorcycles, racing bikes. This is a classic Southern California lifestyle and what that means, as opposed to kind of like an East Coast mentality, which I had to learn all about. But, in Southern California, it's about having a lake house. It's about having a boat. It's about having plenty of cash. You look out and you see a lake from your house, or you look out and see the ocean. It's kind of like the highest. You live in Newport or you live in Huntington. So, I was like in that model, and that wasn't even close to how I was thinking, and all of a sudden now I have this person that's going, you're like a baby spiritual master. And okay, that took 20 years to process that information as well. So, now what's your goals? Rule number 1, point number 1 on how do you know your life's purpose? I talked about it in the other videos, and I said, sometimes when you can't get an answer to a question, you can toss it out to the universe. I need this answered. We're gonna suppose, once again, if you're watching this, if you don't have what I call the DSP, daily spiritual practice, you got to get one. Like for me, maybe like somebody, that is in the material model and lives their life primarily from a material basis, and they maybe pray or meditate or something, but for my spiritual orientation, I cannot start the day without prayer and meditation, a daily spiritual connection to myself, and a daily spiritual practice. And you do that every day. It's just like a shower. Do you take one shower a week? Do you take one shower a month? No, you shower every day. So for me, you got to pray, meditate, and maintain your spiritual balance, spiritual connection every day, daily basis. It's just like getting clean and sober. They taught me, Kirk, how many days a week did you drink? 7. And how many hours a week did you drink? how many hours a day did you drink? Like 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so, and now you're not really willing to, you only want to give 1 hour or 2 hours to your spiritual life or maintaining your sanity and sobriety. So they told me, you're going to have to give as much time and energy and effort to the sanity, sobriety, spirituality, and solvency as you did to the chaos and the disorder and the drunkenness. And I was like, I can do that. They're like, you only need to take 50%, so 50% of the effort that you were doing being in the chaos, the disorder, the drunkenness, and, no moral judgment on any of those things. Hell, if you can get away with it, do it. But I couldn't get away with it and I couldn't do it anymore. I bottomed out. I mean, I was in the 4th stage of alcoholism. So, yeah, I was living it full time. So they just said basically 3 hours a day. You still have 7 extra hours a day to do whatever you want. Do you know what I mean? If you were drinking and drugging for 7 hours a day every day, at the end, take 3 hours. So, yeah, certain people are like, I can't start my day without a workout. I have to have a workout, I have to, that's your material orientation. I go to the gym and I work out my physical body, and then that affects my spirit, that affects my mental attitude. And, I approach it as, no, we go right to the candles. Yes, we do. We go right to the candles. I'm living it. That is my foundation, is I got to be spiritually centered. I have my spiritual teachers. Hi, here's Jesus. Okay. And the other spiritual teacher. Okay. I believe in many spiritual teachers, and, I can learn something from every religion, every spiritual text, and every doctrine. So primarily, if you're going to work with me, you have to have a daily spiritual practice no matter what. So if you're not willing to do, you have to have that walking in the door. And if you don't have it walking in the door, then you have to be open, honest, and willing to get the daily spiritual practice. Bare minimum, baby, beginning, no spiritual intelligence, 40 days. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to feed anything. We're not going to clear out your energy. We're not going to move your energy. We're not going to give you wisdom. We're not going to tell you any special secrets of the, shaman, Taoism, nothing until you at least can show me that you have the spiritual discipline to, hit your mark every day and get a spiritual grounding, because you can't clear out the trauma, the shame, the pain, and get unstuck unless you're spiritually and emotionally grounded. And you do that through spiritual daily discipline. So DSP, daily spiritual practice, Shakti. So, all right, well, I think that might, we could go on. You know what? I got to tell you, let's take a little breather and a little break. So maybe we'll just treat this like it's a seminar. It's one of my seminar talks. I need some water, actually. So, when my people come to me, I'm like, it's a first things first issue. And that's what they taught me in sobriety. And it was one of the hardest lessons, spiritual lessons, to get into my life and my consciousness and my new brain pathways. My brain totally changed. When I quit drinking, my brain changed. That means my body changed. That means my aura changed. That means my questions changed. That means my entire universe changed. So the original point of getting back to, you think like you're born in 1970 and then you just walk through time and it's this linear experience. No, it's not. I'm going to blow your mind right now and tell you reincarnate your body not only every day. They've proven it kind of seems like, well, if, somebody somewhere did something in a laboratory or compiled all the data, then that makes it true. Okay, so, the data that they have is your body's cells change every 7 years. They change every 7 years. So every 7 years, you have an entirely new body. Your body, at 7, 14, 21, it's all exactly, completely, totally new cells and the DNA replicates in the mitochondria. And so, you're a walking new person by, scientific standards. But I can tell you by metaphysical inquiry and taking the last 30 years to study metaphysics and to pray and meditate and clear my body of the trauma, the pain, the grief, the shame, and become a completely present, clear person. And trust me on this, and this is why I am a person of value. People that are fully and absolutely in their body without all that shame and pain and original trauma and grief and fear, and they're just present to access and live in their own divine intelligence, is really, really rare. It's very rare. So you're completely and fully present, and you don't have a subconscious directive of revenge. You don't have a subconscious directive to either victimize or be a victim, make somebody live in your shadow or you live in their shadow. You've gone from limitation to psychic and spiritual and emotional liberation, which is what I take my clients to. And you've gone from being a victim of all these things around you when you were a kid, and the helplessness and the rage and the pain and the shame that all of that created within. You've cleared it out. So you've gone from, it means that you've left mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, the past, and you've come fully into the present. So you've gone from victim to victor. Okay. So now that was all the preface. So why don't we take a break? It's 42 minutes. I have some good news to share with you. For the last 3 to 4 months, the computer on my YouTube account, I put a video in on my YouTube, and it was unlisted private video that I just wanted as a vision board that I wanted to watch on YouTube, because I have another TV screen that magically throws the YouTube up there. So I talk about my electronic vision board, and I wanted to have my vision board on 1, 2, 3, 4 screens simultaneously, because I'm experimenting with do you have a lot of images and a very repetitive, very fast thing, which will get the new consciousness going and get those new images in of the life you want to live and materialize and manifest? Or do you have maybe 1 or 2 screens with maybe slow moving energies, and you slowly take in the images? So I'm kind of experimenting, high repetition or maybe low repetition with less images, but more sublime images. Or do you just want a lot of images? If you look at the vision boards on YouTube, some of them are they do that. Oh, it's a subliminal thing, and we flash pictures. We flash pictures very fast. This is a, kind of like a high-end life coaching thing where, after you get your daily spiritual practice and we start clearing out the pain, and you stop carrying around the disorder, and you stop attaching the disorder to every part of your life, and you finally understand and know what it's like to be present, then we can get you to some conscious creation things where you're going to become a conscious creator. Okay, you've accepted and owned your power. You're in your body. Your body is pain-free. And, you stay out of the pain body. You stay away from the people that will throw you in the pain body. You understand the people that are not awake, and, how frightening they can be, because, a person, they might be moving around, they might be at work, but they're not awake. They are reliving a trauma constantly. So we have compassion for them, but at the same time, you don't let somebody push you around. You don't let their addiction push you around. You don't let their alcoholism or their fucked up trauma push you around ever, because you're the person that's awake. You're the person that's present. So it becomes like this black belt in, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait to act out their fucked up trauma victim script. So, their whole consciousness is victim or either victimize. You're going to victimize somebody, or you're going to turn them into your victim, or they're going to become your victim. That's like this whole victim model that, if you don't deal with this shit That's how you act out. And let it be said, I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You can still have a poverty mentality as a billionaire or multimillionaire. You're still carrying around the poverty. You're still carrying around like, I'm going to victimize these people because that's my only conscious model of how things work in my attachment with people. I victimize them or they victimize me. And guess what? It always goes like this. It always ends up at the same point, same circle. Why do you think these people get divorced? You know what I mean? Like, well, because they were acting out a script, acting out a mommy and daddy script, acting out the siblings script, acting out their codependency script, their dysfunctional. So if you don't deal with the dysfunctional, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're still going to attach the dysfunction everywhere. So when you become a person that's totally present, money or no money, you see people like lost in their trauma script, they're gonna like bump into you and try to like dig all their claws in you and like suck all the energy out of you. And you just have to be like, you're the adult and they're the child, spiritually and metaphysically. They're children, they're infants. Even though they're in adult bodies, even though they might be your boss, even though, they might be your neighbor, these people are not awake and they are just like lost and asleep. And so we have compassion for them, but we don't let them kick us in the shins. We don't let them project their dysfunction into our minds and then go and run with their fucked up toxic script. You don't get sucked into somebody else's insanity. You just have to constantly be in your space, and withhold your energy when somebody's attacking. Because ultimately, all of those like toxic scripts, the victim scripts, and the rage script, and the mask of the caretaker, the mask of the rageaholic, the mask of the victim. Ultimately, if you're stuck, it's because you don't know how to take that off. That caretaker mask, energetic, that you were handed. So, when you get like clear and present, daily spiritual practice, you start to see all this stuff. And you start to speak from your own authentic voice. And so basically, it's a new definition of power. Your power is not coming from outside things. So, your spiritual and divine intelligence can come from Jesus. Yeah. Jesus is a shaman. Awesome, awesome lesson in life. Awesome stories, about Jesus as healer, as master, and even manifester, materializer. He makes a miracle. He brings somebody back to life. He tells somebody, you're immortal. I'm going to bring you back to life. So we have those lessons. He says, this is my body. This is my blood. What he's saying is you can have the same aura and consciousness as me. So all those things are great for Jesus, and this is not the religious Jesus. This is like the historical Jesus and the actual Jesus that, yeah, I do believe exists. Unfortunately, religion has tried to like kill Jesus and turn Jesus into like a kung fu killer, ninja assassin. So no, I don't believe in Jesus the assassin that the, religious right wing, whatever. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, am I towing the PC line? I don't know. Fuck the PC line, But no, let's get into reality, okay? Like there's like this, the right, the left, throw that whole fucking thing out the window. So what do you want to do? So yeah, I believe in, anybody that says Jesus is not love or Jesus would do an unloving action doesn't understand, what the man represented. Spiritual power, spiritual love, the power of divinity, the power of loving divinity. And so that is my lesson. So we go to, spiritual intelligence, divine intelligence, and then we go over to Buddha. And, I'm going to wrap this video up. We go into the Buddha and we go into, I was talking on my TV show about this is an oracle deck, it's a daily spiritual practice deck where you pick a card. Okay, so I'll pick a daily card. And I talked about this. It's the wisdom of the Tao. And I highly recommend this. My friend Amber, who I actually met in New York, and then we became friends on Facebook. And she, knew I was in recovery. And I'm not going to say anything personal about her, but she knew I was in recovery. And when I had my second year anniversary of staying sober, she was like, I want to send you something. And she had a meeting with this lady and a reading, and she was like, I got to send this to Kirk. So it's this is called an oracle deck as opposed to a tarot deck, and it's got a booklet, The Wisdom of the Tao, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, Mi Jin Lu, and I don't know how many, 45 cards in a guidebook. So it's a daily meditation thing. So, you know, you just ascertain, you close your eyes, you shovel the deck, and you pick one card for the day, and that's what you meditate on. Okay, so today I got leader, and it says Jade Emperor, you being called upon for leadership. The Jade Emperor is helping you to overcome barriers, fuse your ambition with integrity, employ your power with honor and wisdom, move forward with unstoppable momentum, and success is inevitable. So that's pretty cool, to learn the Tao, the way of the Tao. Because I'm going to tell you, when you're a spiritual master of the universe, you can change the weather, or you can morph your body, or you can, dissipate disease, or you can, it's like just a different level of commanding the elements and understanding to go with the energies, when to yield, when to go forward, and there is some like hardcore boundaries and violence. And, the monks that go to the Shaolin temple, they learn to fight. Don't you think that's a little strange? Wouldn't you think like a spiritual master would be, oh, we don't fight. We only fight as a last resort. Violence is the bottom line last resort, We try to pray, meditate, and send love to something. So violence is the last resort. But, here in America, violence is the first thing we want to do. Because, we love testicles, and the testicles make the testosterone, and we like the penis, and we worship the penis. It's a phallic-centric culture, but it's switching over. And, they said when women ruled, certain islands in the Greek islands or whatever, like there was no war, didn't exist. Why? Because it's a different question. It's a different orientation. It's a different thought process. But, because historically the world was set up maybe by, men, and everything had to do with men and their testicles. It's about testosterone. And testosterone wants to like fight and hit and blow up things. Once again, no moral judgment, just you take into account the environment you're in and then you act accordingly. So, yeah, but it's like out of hand. When 75% of the gross national product, 75% goes to the military, and then there's people starving and uneducated. So there's like a bunch of hungry, uneducated people running around the culture, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're like, please give us $10 an hour instead of like $7, because $7 an hour really comes out to like $3 in the real world after taxes. So you're living on $3 an hour working for McDonald's. Okay, something is so fucked up. Anyways, let's not get into all that. So, from limitation to liberation, from victim to victor. Shakti Namaste. So you're a spiritual leader because you got the card with me as well. And, I'm trying to completely and always streamline everything. So this is like up to an hour. Hey, guess what? I'm going to wrap it up with this. Oh. Here's my, when I got 25 years sober, I did that for the muscle. Like, yeah, testosterone, penis, yeah. And then I got this one when I was 27, and I had the fleur-de-lis and the power of light. Here's the sign of recovery. It's top secret sign, like nobody knows, but that's like a symbol of recovery, the circle and the triangle. So anyways, what I want to tell you is I have been submitting these copyright infringement counter strikes to YouTube, because they have the system where, like, if you do too many copyright infringements, they either, they cut back your benefits. And one of the benefits is to being able to load in a video more than 20 minutes. That's why I haven't been able to make the videos longer. And it was just a computer error. And so I did a counter strike and I wrote, it's a computer error. That music you're even talking about is not even on this video. This personal vision board that I loaded in from my own personal thing so I could throw it up on my big screen TV on the wall across there and, not have another computer connected to it. The Blu-ray. So they were like, no, it's copyright strike. And I just kept getting these computer generated notices. Your account has been truncated and, your benefits are cut. So now you can only put in videos 15 minutes or less. And so finally, after 4 months, 7 counter strikes, like I just was persistent and consistent with this. I was like, this is bullshit. And I would write in the thing, if a real person saw this, you would know that this is absurd. Can a real person please look at this video? And so then finally, I was like, there's no copyright infringement. It doesn't exist. And so they finally released the account back to full benefits just last night. Shakti. So I can talk for an hour if I want. I can give a seminar, So this is my beginning seminar. This is... So we're going to wrap it up and then take a break. And, in the next video is all this stuff that I channeled. The learning points of how to know and understand your true divine purpose. It gets into a larger question. That's why this video is so long. What's the meaning of life? What questions are you asking? Do you know who you are? And here's your spiritual homework and your spiritual, you're going to get homework. Okay, as your life coach, yep, I give homework. As your spiritual advisor, I give you homework. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go in your house and pretend like you don't know the person that's lived there. This is like an awesome exercise I read in a self-help book years ago, and I never forgot. It was so valuable. And I want you to walk in your house, and I want you to take a notepad and be a detective in your house. And what you do is you open the refrigerator and go, wonder what this person is like. You're being a detective and pretending you've never seen the refrigerator or the person's closet or the bedroom or the kitchen or the bathroom. And you go in and you go, what does this person value? What is this person doing? What kind of income does this person have? What kind of spiritual life does this person have? And you just take one sheet of paper, it doesn't have to be a big deal, and you just write down, this person likes books, or this person, has a lot of Buddha statues around, must pray a lot or meditate. This person obviously has a lot of different kinds of art all over the walls. And so how do you know yourself? Because to get to your true life purpose, you got to get to some very hardcore streamlining of what do you value, what's your bottom line, and what do you value, but what is your passion, your joy. And thank God we live in a world where we can ask these questions. We can ask these questions. We have the spiritual, financial, and metaphysical abundance right now to be able to sit and ponder what's my life purpose and get into the larger questions and the philosophy of first of all, does that even matter? Because I don't even think the question even matters anymore, even though I feel like I found my life purpose. My life purpose found me. So, do you find your destiny or does your destiny find you? That's another question that I've had on the TV show on and off. But I want you to do the exercise and go and get a do it. It is the most enlightening and self-knowledge that you will ever have about yourself. You'll never look at yourself again the same way because, you've always been looking out I'm a person with a body and I look out through these eyes and, you walk into your own house in your own space and you're like, let's just write down, I've never seen this space. Look in your refrigerator. What does it tell you about the person that lives there? Is it clean? Is it neat? What kind of food is in there? Is it tidy? Is it got all kinds of shit that is going moldy, and lots of little packets of ketchup, and it's a big fucking mess and it hasn't been cleaned? It's an older. That's going to tell you so much about your self care and how you take care of yourself, and your sensuality even. What kind of foods do you like? Is it spotless? Is it like all vegetables? Is it all meat? Is it all bacon? So you need to know this stuff in order to get to the question that you want to get answered. What's my true life purpose? So you got to know, like, oh, okay, this is what I value. This is what I have. This is what I do. The self-deception and the delusional denial thing going on about who you are and, what you think you are and what you actually are. You come into your house like a detective, and then you look in your closet. Look at the clothes. Wonder what this person does. Let me see. Let me see this outfit. Let me see, it's obviously a woman. It's obviously a man by the clothes, but is it a corporate clothes or is it hippie clothes or, what do the clothes smell like? What are they? Is it perfume? Is it cologne? Is it sexy clothes? Is it like hiding clothes? People dress to hide. And then you go to the bed and you see what's next to the bed, because what is next to the bed is like the most telling of the tell. It is the total tell. What is next to your bed? Because that's one of the most important things. What is it? Is it an ashtray? Is it a remote control? Is it a book? Is it one book? Is it what's next to my bed? Let me see. I have spiritual literature. I have a pair of glasses. I have a mini iPod. I have a coin that I bought online where you flip it. It says yes or no. I have the Uber Ultra Divine Protection oil that I made for my clients. Oh man, God, this stuff smells like Christmas. I mean, it's just like smells like Christmas. And I have basically it's all spiritual literature. And then I have the the Tao cards. I have Tarot cards. I have Jesus, Buddha. So this is all by my bed. I'm sitting off the side of my bed right now, where I'm the most comfortable. And can you imagine? Yeah, I have like this entire life and connection to the entire planet and all of my clients. And I just sit here off the side of my bed in my pajamas. Okay, what's better than that? Well, thank God, by the grace of God, I became a person of value and a person that has like kind of this highly niche value. It's like, I'm not a life coach. I'm a shamanic healer that does life coaching, and I'm a mystic and a spiritual psychic medium that does coaching. Okay, that's like the triple crown of the metaphysical person that you could become. Do you know what I mean? So that's on your way to becoming baby Buddha, spiritual master. So, okay, master of the universe. 1 hour, 3 minutes. I hope I soothed you, healed you, gave you my symposium on the greater questions of life. So you got to do the homework. Go and look in the refrigerator, go and look in the closet, and go and see what's next to your bed and write it all down. 3 adjectives, 3 feelings. You are going to learn so much about yourself because you're going to be like, oh my God, yeah. Oh, okay, that's what this person does. You know what I mean? Because you can't see it because you get tunnel vision. Anyway, so that's your homework, and we're going to talk in video 5 in a couple of days when I further streamline, simplify, and clarify these other learning points, talking points. So that's your talk for today. Take it in slowly. Let's let it seep in. Some people are like a dry sponge for spiritual knowledge. They're just like, where have you been? Where have you? And they're just like, so suck it up, man. Suck up like a sponge. Soak it in. Take in. Because if you've like, it's just like me going back to one of my first spiritual teachers. I would just like dry as a bone to talk to somebody. Oh God, a spiritual person that's awake. A spiritual person that I can talk to. So yeah. Present, clean, clear, sober. Sane, sober, solvent, serene. Shakti. Okay, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Namaste.